When should you go to a financial advisor, or do you even need to go to one at all? General consensus is that whenever you are just stressed out, your personal finances look complicated, you don't understand anything, you should just go. And I couldn't disagree more with that than what I do, because at the end of the day, advisors, planners, they're salespeople. If you go through their doors, they could sell you products you don't need. They could sell you their services when you may not need them. I think most of them are good people out there, but not all sharks swim in water, and you could be taken advantage of. So I hope this video helps you make the decision on when or if you need to go to a financial advisor. Now, to be transparent, I am not an advisor or planner of any kind. I am Jacob. I'm 28 years old. I'm debt-free. I have $680,000 in a stock portfolio that I manage myself. I handle all my own personal expenses, finances, stuff like that. So all of this is just my own experience, and I have some scenarios in which I'm now coming up against where I'm thinking about going to a financial advisor that I'll share with you. So the three scenarios in which I think that people need to go to an advisor is, number one, you're nearing retirement within the next 5 years, or you're thinking about retiring early. Number two is you are a high income earner. Doesn't matter if you're young, old, or anywhere in between. If you're making a lot of money, your life financially can be very complicated and sophisticated. And then number three is you're younger, your 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, you're trying to build wealth for the first time and you just have no idea where to get started. You've never even heard of the stock market and you're like, I need to go somewhere. So let's start with number one. You're nearing retirement or retiring early. This is probably the most common and I think maybe the most helpful time for people to go to a financial advisor. And it's because folks will spend their entire lives building wealth, retire with a couple $1 million, but not know how to transition from building wealth to maintaining wealth. And that's where wealth management comes in at. And it's a lot different from investing money and trying to get 10, 12, 15% versus, hey, I have $10 million and I just need to make 4% a year on that to maintain a good, long, sustainable retirement. This is where a financial advisor is going to help you out. And they're going to create withdrawal strategies for you, help you withdraw money from your 401k, your Roth IRAs, your brokerage accounts. They'll work with you on Social Security checks and when to pull those out and match them with your portfolio. Talk about maybe fixed income products, so you're guaranteed income every month to pay for your expenses, stuff like that. So this is really where an advisor, I think, helps out most people. Now, I'm 28, I turned 29 this year. I'll be 40 in 11 years, and that's when I would like to retire. So I'm looking at retiring early. Right now in my portfolio, I have $681,000. $522,000 of that is in a brokerage account. So if I just let that brokerage account keep doing what it's been doing, I'm looking at about $1.5 million in the next 11 years when I'm 40 without adding another dollar. And this is the portfolio. This brokerage account is where I'm looking to withdraw money from so I can retire early. I want to have some kids over the next 10 years. I want my time to be more to me and my family, and I don't want to work as much, and I need this $1.5 million to last me. But here's the other side of this coin. Is the rest of the money I have $150,000 between a Roth account and an IRA, then I also have that compounding for me in the background. So over the next 31 years, whenever I'll then be 60, that looks like it will be about $3 million. So it's like I have $1.4 million when I'm 40 that I need to last me for 20 years. Then I'll have access to my retirement accounts. That'll be $3 million. And I need to create a financial plan. I need to understand how taxes work in my brokerage account because I will be selling assets in a non-retirement account. These are taxable accounts. I'll have to say, well, how much are my expenses? I need to withdraw a certain amount every month. Maybe I need to go to fixed income. I don't know. I don't know yet. I haven't retired early yet. So one day I will know. And this is kind of now the time that I'm thinking about going to a financial advisor. But just be wary. Whenever you go to an advisor and they immediately start trying to sell you on whole life insurance or annuities or too good to be true products. This doesn't matter if you're young and you're just getting in there for the first time, or if you're older looking to retire. You really need to be questioning them, well, like, why do I need this product? Why should I move to this? And if they can't give you very good reasons, specifics, and you can clearly understand why you need what they're trying to sell you or get you into, then walk away from that advisor immediately. These advisors should be trying to teach you what to do, not tell you what to do. Now, number 2 is you're making serious money. This is another great time to go see an advisor. You can figure these things out on yourself. You can figure out your own tax situations and how to do backdoor Roths and stuff like that. But if you are making good money, it's probably because you're working a lot anyways, and you may not want to use your time to figure out all of these complicated personal finance things. And this is where an advisor could be somebody that you got on your retainer to help you out. So this is, it's hard to say, like, pinpoint an exact amount of money or exact dollar amount and where I think that serious money is considered. But I think if you're single and you're making over $160,000, that's probably where, and here's why. Because once you're making over $160,000, you can't really be contributing to your Roth IRA like a normal person, and this is where you would start considering using things like backdoor Roths. And if you're not familiar with that, well, it's because it's just another investment strategy that a financial advisor would know about that the common person wouldn't know about. That's because the common person isn't making over $160,000. Also, if you're getting paid in stock options or RSUs, restricted stock units, then those are also going to be taxed differently than ordinary income, something else just ordinary people wouldn't know about. And this would be a good time for you to go see a financial advisor to make sure, 1, you're following the law, and then 2, to also be getting the most you can out of all of your income, and that you're not losing any to Uncle Sam or losing more to Uncle Sam than what you should be. And again, another personal example of mine is this year alone, we're halfway through the year, and I'm at $164,000 in earnings. This is the most I've ever made in my life in 1 year from going to work and getting a paycheck. And a lot of that was due to the company I was working for was acquired. And whenever I was laid off, I sold my equity in the company that was worth $52,000. I have no idea how this is taxed. I just sold it, they sent me a check, and that's it. So another really good time for me to go look at a financial advisor. I'm kind of checking off the boxes here, retiring early, making good income. You can kind of see who I really made this video for. It was for me. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so whenever you're making really good money and you just are kind of confused, the tax situation looks complicated, a financial advisor is somebody you definitely want to go see. Now, the third one is if you're just trying to build wealth and you're 20 or 30 or 40 years old, you have no idea how to do it, then I do think an advisor could be good to go see, but they're absolutely not necessary at all. And I will give you 6 steps right now for you to start building wealth. This is an outline that any advisor, a good advisor, would give you. They should give it to you for free, honestly, because they do not need to be involved in this wealth building process while you're earning a paycheck and just trying to build wealth for yourself. So number 1 is max out your company's 401k match. If your company's giving you 4, 5, 6, 10% or whatever, max that out. And this is what it means. If you get a $1,000 paycheck and the company says, we'll give you a 4% match, that means you say, okay, then take out 4% of my own money from my paycheck, which would be $40, and they will match that $40 for free for you. So now you're investing not just your $40, but the company's $40 also, and that's a total of $80. Now, in your 401k, you'll have multiple options to put your money in. You'll have things called target day funds. You'll have bonds. You'll have, I don't know, maybe some currency strategies. You'll have all kinds of options, but there's only one thing you need to look for, and that is a S&P 500 index fund. That is it. That's the only thing you need. If you put your money there and you just let it ride, you will be rich someday. Now, the third thing, step 3, is if you want to buy a home, then you should not put in any more than what the company's matching you. So some people will say max out your 401k. maxing it out could easily be over $20,000. And if you're making less than $100,000, you're putting $20,000 of it into your 401k. That leaves you with $80,000 taxable income, and then you got bills. Well, when are you supposed to save for a house? So don't. If you're wanting to save for a house, only put in up to the match or the free money that the company gives you. Then for buying the home, save up to a 20% down payment. This will give you a better interest rate whenever you go negotiate with the bank to take out a mortgage for your house. And you'll have a couple options for mortgages. Take out a 15-year fixed mortgage or a 30-year fixed mortgage. Either one. If you want 15, that's fine. If you want 30, it's okay. Just make sure they're fixed, because that means your interest rate is set in place. And if interest rates go lower, you can negotiate with the bank. You can refinance your mortgage and actually pay the lower rate in the future. But if it's variable, and as you've seen over the past couple of years where inflation goes up and interest rates go up and stuff, that means you're at the mercy of the interest rate at any time of it going up or down or whatever of what you'll be paying. So get fixed, lock in your rate, and say, this is how much I'm paying all the time, and it's just not up in the air, left to the interest gods. That is awful. Now, on 15 or 30 years, which one should you do? It doesn't really matter. You'll pay more interest in the 30 years than you would the 15 years, but it's so low that over time, if you're investing your money into the market, like for example, if you have a 30-year loan and you're paying interest on it, but you're paying a 3% interest, and you're investing the rest of your money into the stock market making 10%, you have like a 7% margin in between there. It's okay. You can do 15 or 30. I personally wouldn't do more than 15 years because I hate debt. I don't want to owe anyone money for any amount of time at all. That's why I'm 28 and debt free. So 30 years isn't for me. I would prefer to own my house as fast as possible, own my asset, instead of needing to pay somebody all the time for an asset that they own that I just technically live in. But that's just me. You can choose whatever's best for you. Now, number 4, after you save the money for your house, or even if you're not saving money for a house, you could just skip to number 4 here. Max out your Roth IRA. You need to go to a company like Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, and open up a Roth IRA. And the difference between a Roth IRA and a 401k is that in a Roth, you're putting in post-tax dollars, and then whenever you're 60 years old and you have all the gains in this account, you can sell your stocks and you pay no taxes at all. Versus in a 401k, that's pre-tax income, so you get paid. Your company takes the money out from your paycheck before you get taxed. And then in the future, whenever you sell those stocks in your 401k, you'll eventually be taxed then. So max out your Roth before a 401k. That's step 4. And again, just buy an S&P 500 fund. Vanguard's VOO is great. That's the one I love. That's the one I've personally bought myself. Number 5 is if you still have money left. If you've saved for a home, you've done the company match, you've maxed out your Roth IRA, and you still have money left to invest, this is where you could max out the rest of your 401k. And this could be upwards of $22,000. The amount changes every single year as inflation goes up and the government lets you put in more than the year before. But this is where it would be good for you to max out your 401k to its fullest possibility. And then number 6 is if you still have money, you have done your company match, you have saved for a home, you're now living in one, you've maxed out your Roth IRA, you've maxed out your 401k, this is where it'd be good for you to open up a brokerage account. This is a regular taxable account, and this would also be done in the same platform, the same custodian as Vanguard, Schwab, or Fidelity. Wherever you opened up your Roth IRA at, this is where you'd open up your brokerage account. And again, just buy more S&P 500, Vanguard's VOO, in this account. If you do all of this 6-step framework, you will be a millionaire by the time you go to retire. And if you want to start learning about other investment strategies or anything like that, I still don't think you need to go to a financial advisor for that. This is why YouTube exists. You can come watch my videos. There's a lot of other good financial folks on YouTube. You can read books. You can just for fun find out more for yourself. Because if you go to an advisor, they're going to charge you a fee just to tell you what you can quickly Google or ChatGPT or whatever on your own. And it'll probably make more sense if you just read about it and learn about it. And you do need to take some more initiative over your own finances instead of just going and relying on an advisor where they might be able to take advantage of you. So if you like this video, if this was beneficial for you, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm bringing more personal finance stuff like this. And also be sure to hit that like button because you made it this far, so why not? And I will see you next one.